was short but intense.
I just love it. Veronica emailed me. She's like, we're just coming from a workout.
You just keep, trying to get that in. That always feels so good when you can get a workout in, before the end of the day.
Oh yeah, it's the end of the day for you guys.
Yeah, it's almost, it's 5:30 now. So it's been a long day. So yeah, a long day. It's been a normal day. It's early for you. What time is it for you right now?
It's 11 a.m.
Okay, 11. Okay, cool. So we're 6 hours apart. What part of Canada are you in?
I'm in Toronto.
Oh, my dad lived in Toronto for 10 years. Toronto is so amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, my dad worked for the Canadian Coleman Company for 10 years, and when I was very small, and I used to come out there, and I just love Canada. Love Canada. Your country is just so amazing.
Oh my gosh, Jill, thank you so much. I love Italy. It's like on my bucket list to go. So you've been everywhere because you've been in Florida, New York, Toronto now. Where else have you lived?
Lived Pennsylvania, Milan, Italy, Fuerteventura in Spain, and Rome. Rome is home. Yeah, the most time I've ever spent was in Rome.
Wow.
But I've traveled a lot for work. So I've been to Korea, to Japan, to the Philippines, to China, to the Finland. That was interesting in February. I've been a little bit all over the place. Greece. I like that too. Bulgaria, Romania, Dubai. So yeah, I've seen a lot of neat countries.
That's incredible. Wow. What's your favorite country so far? Just out of curiosity.
That's a hard one. I think once you start living out of your own country, you're never at home anymore in any country, because every single country has its pros and its cons. And so, which is my favorite country? It's kind of it's a toss between Italy and Spain. I'd probably have to say Italy, just because Italy is, has a little bit of everything. It has the nature, it has the history, it has the art, it has the food. And so I love Italy.
Oh my gosh. And so this is a great segue into my first question for you, which is okay, you're so fascinating. So you're when you were a little girl, you grew up in Florida, right?
Right.
And so so how long did you live in Florida for, first of all?
Well, first of all, I lived in Florida from when I was 8 to when I was 16. And then when I was 16, I was accepted early admission to New York University, Tisch School of the Arts. And so I left high school a year early. So I left as a junior. Wow. And I skipped my senior year. And those are really the formative years living in Florida. And Florida was such a great climate for working out. So my whole family is very, very sport oriented. And so growing up in Florida was great because we were always out and about and doing sports. And it was a really great place to grow up.
Wow. And so I'm sure, were your parents a big influence in your fitness and your lifestyle?
Absolutely, yes. My mom was a tennis player, a very good tennis player, not professional, but I mean, she would compete. And my father was a football player. So he got a football scholarship and when he was young. And then my mom kind of got into the Jane Fonda fad when it was the 80s. Yeah. And so my mom, when I was about 12 years old, started waking me up at 6:30 in the morning to work out before I went to school. And so I was doing the Jane Fonda fad when I was in the 80s.
Wow. So you studied at Tisch School of the Arts, which is, I'm in awe of that. What was your major there?
I was studying drama. I was studying theater. And then I moved on to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy, where I was studying musical theater. And then I was having too much fun, and I did not graduate from New York University. So I was, like I said, I was very young because I went a year early to college, having too much fun, and I realized I wasn't concentrated enough. And so I decided that I had to leave New York if I wanted to end up with something worthwhile when I was 50. And so my choice was between Los Angeles or Europe. And I wasn't really that much into Los Angeles as an idea. So I was working for Italians, and they said, well, why don't you come over? And I did, and I just never came back.
Oh my gosh. And so what was your job with the Italians in New York, I'm assuming?
Well, what does every actor in New York do? They wait tables. And so I was a waiter, like 99.9% of all actors in New York. And so I was working for Gianluigi Buitoni. I don't know if you've ever heard of Buitoni Pasta.
Yes.
He was one of the people, one of the owners, in that whole family. I mean, they're a huge family. They were also tied to, because they come from Perugia, they were also tied to Perugina chocolates. You know, the Baci Perugina, those little chocolates.
Oh my gosh.
That was all part of his family. So I was working for the creme de la creme of the Italian high society. And it was at a little restaurant in New York called Pasta and Dreams. And so I did meet a lot of true Italians when I was living in New York in the 80s. And they invited me to come over for a summer. And like I said, I stayed. Then I stayed because I brought aerobics into Italy around 1988, 1989.
Wow. So you're like a trailblazer, Jill. Like you're like the original. So what was that like, bringing aerobics into Italy? What, like, coming from, your childhood in Florida and New York, and growing up with your mom doing Jane Fonda's, fitness in the 80s?
Well, the cool thing was I was at the beginning of a lot of things. Like, I was at the beginning of computers. I had one of the first Apple computers. It was called Apple at the time. It wasn't called Macintosh. And it had 2 floppy disks, and the screen was just dark green. It would blink at you. Then, I saw the fitness revolution come in. I saw cell phones come into, there was no cell phones when I was 20. And then I also I became one of the first personal trainers in Italy because, like you said, I was a trailblazer, but it was kind of evolution. I was kind of inventing, along with my colleagues, new ways to communicate, new ways to work out, new ways to get into shape. I mean, we really didn't know what we were doing at the time. Wow. Nowadays there are schools for everything that we're doing, but at the time we were inventing actually a new form of business, a new form of occupation, a new type of work. Wow.
And that's so amazing because now it's so true. Like, now everybody's doing that, and you're again, trailblazer, so amazing. And what was like the biggest challenge, I guess, bringing, and also too, was what I want to go back to your decision in New York, that crossroads between Europe and LA, and knowing that you had to leave New York. Was your dream always to become an actress? Did the dream change, and that is what? Is that why you wanted to go to Europe or LA instead?
Okay, when I was in high school, yes, I loved acting, and I currently work in television. So I do love anything in entertainment, either acting. I'm a TV personality now, so that's a little bit different. I'm just being myself, but it's always in, an entertainment context. So I went to New York. I love communicating through video and audio and movement and music. So definitely was a dream of mine to become an actor. It was a dream of mine to become, maybe work in musical theater with singing and dancing. I come from dance. I danced for 10 years.
Wow.
I also won a scholarship when I was in high school to dance in a university, to go study contemporary dance. So it's all part of just my makeup. And then what happened is my life brought me to this what I do is on stage, as being an international fitness presenter, I'm still out there doing it. I'm just not doing it reciting someone else's lines. I'm doing it as a personality, as myself, which is actually more exciting because when I open my mouth, it's my thoughts that are coming out. It's my heart that's being poured out. It's my opinion that I'm versing when I'm in public and when I'm communicating. So in case scenario, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to work in entertainment. And I think I've been able to do that. So I'm very excited with what my life has how it's kind of panned out and how it's worked out for me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm sure it's some things that must have happened that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that this would happen. Or even possible. Like, it's incredible what you've been able to do. And I personally really love your message of how it's all encompassing. It's the body, it's the mind, it's the spirit, and the energy that you bring to what you do is amazing. Like, it just brings a smile to my face. Even your daughter Veronica was sending me photos from the JillCooper Freedom you did in Italy. And I was just like,
yeah.
I was grinning the whole time. I was just like, this woman's amazing. You can just, even through the photograph, you can feel the energy and passion. JillCooper Freedom, so I heard a little bit about it. Could you share a bit more about that?
You kind of got me teared up there for a second. Thank you so much for your wonderful compliments, and it's very exciting to know that what you're doing does speak through photos, and it does speak through video. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I'm very passionate about helping or hoping to help people love themselves, because I think most people are out there surviving and not living. So most people are out there worried about not being enough. So many people are out there saying, oh, maybe the whole world has everything under control. I'm the only one who's out of control. And so what freedom is, it's not a workout. Freedom, we use these wireless headphones. I have a mic. I'm mic'd. I have a backpack with a transmitter on my back. So I can pretty much take anywhere from 200 to 500 people walking around a city, but it's a voyage. And what is the voyage? Freedom means to free your mind, free your body, free your thoughts, free your past, free your body, it's about getting yourself free of what? Of what we're afraid of. You know, everyone's afraid of something. Everyone has their demons. Everyone has their problems, because I think everyone wants this like kind of picture perfect life, and everyone's so like tied nowadays to social media, and social media keeps trying, I think they keep trying to show this picture perfect life that does not exist. Life is not easy, but life is possible, and happiness is possible, and being the best version of me is possible. So what I do with freedom is I try to get people to ask themselves questions. So I start off with, what are you happy? What would make you happy? You know, what is blocking you? And then we walk and we talk and we move. And at the end, there's kind of this meditative part at the end where I get people closing their eyes, getting into the breathing, getting into looking into their heart, and getting into talking about forgiveness. You know, forgiving other people and forgiving themselves. Because we can only be free now. We can't be free yesterday. We can't be free tomorrow. We can only free ourselves now. So freedom for me is a mission, and it's a mission not to get people fitter. It's a mission to get people to get into contact with themselves. You know, the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul, everything has to click together for people to be truly healthy. Wow. So that's freedom.
Sign me up. When's the next one happening?
Let's do it in Toronto, baby. I'm coming over there. I'm bringing my headphones. Let's do this in Toronto. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen.
I'll bring my mom and she'll come over, who's a fan of yours as well. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love that so much. And yeah, it's so true that we have these demons and everyone's got that. And because you're like, so you've got this massive audience on social media, and how has, or if it has at all, how has your attitude changed towards social media with regards to like taking care of yourself or the impact you want to make, or it's along those lines? Has that changed for you, or has it been the same since you started?
I think life is constantly an evolution. So no, nothing's ever the same. Every single day it's different. And for me, since I was about 24, I'm 50 now, so I'm going for 51. So for 25 years now, I've always had this desire to better myself. It's something, you say, what do you want to spend money on? I'll spend money on self-help books. I'll spend money on vitamins. I'll spend money on creams. I'll spend money on anything that can make me healthier. And it's just something I've always wanted to do. Now, I haven't always had a healthy mindset because I think I've had people in my past when I was young tell me I wasn't worthy. I unfortunately was bullied also in my family. So I grew up with a really, really harsh inferiority complex. And so I just started asking myself, white and black, yes and no, right and wrong. And I started just to try to look at myself and say, okay, who are you, Jill? Who are you? And I started to try to sift through what the people were telling me as a power game and where the truth was. And so technically, when you work in entertainment, you start off because you want people to maybe fill that void, maybe fill that sense of uncompleteness, and you're like, if you like me, I'll feel complete. And that's what happens when we want sometimes to be actors and when we want to get into entertainment. And then for me, it evolved into I like myself, I accept myself, I want to be at peace with myself, I love myself. And I had pretty much a nervous breakdown in 2015. I mean, pretty serious. And I got off an airplane. And I sat myself down, and I took a big, big turn for the better about 3.5 years ago, because I was at a turning point. Because when you're a public figure, there's a lot of responsibility. A lot of people can attack you on social media. You can't attack back. You can't say anything back. You just have to keep, sucking it in. And so social media is kind of a double-bladed sword. And it can cut both ways. It can go well, and it can also go horribly bad.
Yeah.
But for me, I've gotten to this point that I'm a lot less worried about what social media thinks of me. I'm a lot more worried about what my friends think of me, my family thinks of me, and especially what I think of myself. And I like myself, so I'm not going to hurt myself anymore.
That's amazing, Jill. And
I'm going to try not to hurt myself anymore. I can still do that, but I'm going to try not to hurt myself anymore.
I love that you said that, because even talking about how we can be our own worst enemies. And I remember when I was young and I was dancing, and I remember all my dance teachers would come to me and they'd be like, oh, Madison, she's her own worst enemy. And I had a really difficult time figuring out what that meant. And what was the process you went through to become the Jill Cooper you are today, the strong, inspiring woman who's heart-centered and just living, you're a free woman. Even when you were talking about freedom, to me, I was like, yeah, you embody that whole way of life. And so how did you get to that place?
It's a process. Getting to a place of self-acceptance is a huge process. I do admit that I have a wonderful psychologist that has helped me do through this process. I've used prayer. I've gone to, like I said, I've always been trying to get out from underneath this sense of not being worthy. And it's a process. So first thing is, be really kind. I'm saying this to everyone out there, if anyone's listening, is to be really kind to yourself, to give yourself the place to heal, to know that there's going to be good days, to know there's going to be bad days, there's going to be up days, to not expect to be healed or to heal yourself or to love yourself in an instant, but to say it's possible. And every single day, to remember that perfection does not exist. We are all perfectly imperfect. No one is perfect. No one is perfect. So when you start to love your dark side and you start to embrace the dark side, and instead of trying to paint over it or hide it or to show that you're always happy or to show that you're always perfect or to show that you don't have wrinkles or to show that you're not fat or to show this and everything, and you start to embrace it, it gets a lot easier for you to to counteract what people try to do. So what I think a lot of human beings use power games to feel better about themselves. So if I can destabilize you, I feel for that little nanosecond important or stronger or less afraid, okay? So the first thing is so if you come up to me and you make fun of me, but I already know that's my dark side, I'll make fun of myself first. Like for once, I remember I was around my sister's friends, and this girl comes up to me and she wanted to destabilize me. So the first thing, she looks at me, she goes, "Oh, is your hair colored?" And I flipped over her and I smiled. I said, "Yes, it's L'Oreal 7A. Do you like it?" and so instead of letting her steal my serenity, and instead of letting her steal my happiness, I kind of twisted it around, and I destabilized her. Wow. So the first thing is, but the only way you can destabilize a person who's trying to destabilize you, or I call them energy vampires, the people that are trying to steal your energy, you have to be really super honest with yourself. You have to know that that's your soft point, and you have to embrace the soft point. Like I said, there are days. I made a decision to stop drinking alcohol 3 years and 7 months ago. Why did I do that? Because that was a danger spot for me. I turned into someone I didn't like. My family asked me to stop because I'm not good with alcohol. I say that to people. Why do I say that to people? I say that to people because I don't think painting a perfect picture of JillCooper is going to help anybody. I think it's much better for me to come out there and say, I've got problems. I've had problems. I've survived those problems. I'm on the other side of that problem, and it's possible to change. So I think, I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, not at all. You're not rambling.
But my message is, the possibilities change is in front of us right now. Every single person in this moment, in this exact moment, can start a change. Go on the internet. Go look up a book that might tweak your interest. If it's a day, those no days, when you're just having a really bad day, tuck yourself under the covers and turn your phone off. Cry, that's fine. But don't expect to say, and everyone lived happily ever after does not exist. Our bodies are called, our bodies and our hormones exist in homeostasis. Homeostasis means that there is a hormone that turns everything on, and there's a hormone that turns it down. So we can't always be happy, but neither should we always be sad. We should try to find equilibrium, and we should give ourselves space to be imperfect. I think that's the key.
Yeah, I love that. And I love too how you said embracing your dark side, like not doing that isn't going to help anybody. I love that. So this is a great segue into now, which is like your new, that you just launched, and I'm such a fan of that too. No Ordinary Workout. And I'm sure, like, I love the philosophy of how you need to have like that a healthy mind exists in a healthy body, and finding that balance. Could you elaborate more on now, and like what the inspiration behind it was, and how it came to be, and what our viewers can expect?
Now.JillCooper.it, and it's finally online, also in English. I'm doing a lot of trampoline, a lot of my super jump in English, because that's what people want from me, because there's some amazing online gyms around the world. So I'm just doing in English right now what I do best. In Italy, I'm multidisciplinary, so I do fluid, which is a mix between yoga and animal flow, and I do high intensity interval training, trampolines, and a lot of meditation. I really believe that getting in and doing meditative work helps people get in contact with themselves. A lot of people are scared to go to the gyms, and a lot of people put the gym off until tomorrow, and a lot of people think that they have to work out a full hour to get benefits from your body. And now is this kind of online platform. We have 2 apps which allows you to just do 10 minutes a day. That's all I ask. 10 minutes a day of something, and that helps us create continuity, okay? Because the more we do something, the more we can increase brain plasticity. This makes our brain plastic. This and also helps us get, into healthy habits. So 10 minutes a day. If you don't have to park your car and you don't have to, kind of slide it in between, I don't know, cooking dinner and getting your kids home from school, it makes it a lot easier. So that's the first thing. Our body loves consistency. So I would prefer that you do 10 minutes a day as opposed to 1 hour twice a week if you want to get results. That's the first thing. And the second thing is discipline creates discipline. No one is born, with discipline. Discipline becomes a habit every single day I do it, okay? And that goes back to brain plasticity. So the question is, now is a means to give people not only the workouts they need that they can do also in their house, they don't need to be in huge spaces. The other thing is every single day I tell the people what they're supposed to do. And that's another kind of psychological help, because if I tell you you're supposed to do, these 3 workouts and you don't do them, that's what you do in a gym. You go into a gym because some of the trainer is going to make you do something that you don't want to do. That's what we personal trainers are for, because our brain likes pleasure. It doesn't like to suffer. So if I'm going to tell you, you have to do your workout, you have to do your sit-ups, and you have to do your push-ups, you're not going to probably want to do that by yourself. But if you do it on Now, you've got me kind of like pushing you on and saying, oh, did you do that? Did you do that? So it's kind of also a psychological help to have me telling you what you're supposed to do. And also, if you're traveling, if you're someone who has to, travel for work, you can always have your gym right in your pocket.
Love that. It's awesome. It's like a pocket JillCooper in your pocket on the go.
Yeah.
I love it. So exciting, guys. You got to check that out. Also, too, when I love how you spoke about personal development and personal growth, and what, I'm trying to find a right way to ask this, because I personally love personal growth and development too. And what advice would you give to, before you were 25 and you got into personal growth and development, what advice would you give to that JillCooper?
What advice would I give to 25-year-olds?
The younger Jill, like in her teen years, like before you were 25 and you got into personal growth.
Okay, what I would my first, as quickly as possible, as fast as possible, to realize that we are responsible almost 100% for our health. Okay. And sometimes we have problems with people that want, like I said, it's a power game sometimes. And sometimes people have a tendency to try to make us feel bad about ourselves. So the first thing is to really get down and dirty and ask yourself, what are my pros and what are my, contras? So where am I strong? What are my pros? What are my defects? And kind of own it and kind of make fun of it, and to start to make fun of yourself, because so many people get touchy and they're always like so worried that they're not like other people. Every single person is a work of art, and I think the minute that you stop trying to be like other people and you start to use your own brain and follow your own heart, and let other people follow you. You don't have to dress like other people, and you don't have to have the latest shade of lipstick, and you don't have to be, I think if you become an individual and you love your individuality and you own it, you own your individuality, and if people, you see it. I mean, what I guess I need to say is you need to see the mechanisms. You can see it at a party. You can see it at school. You can see it in a lot of, at summer camp. And there's human beings move with they're social creatures, but almost every single human being, if you watch them carefully, is afraid of being found out. Everyone. I don't know a human being that is not afraid of being found out. I mean, and that's going from President of the United States to your teacher to the coolest girl in the class. Okay? So when you kind of realize that everyone's on the same boat and everyone's worried about not being enough, you know, most beautiful enough or funny enough or rich enough or tall enough or, you know, or smart enough or fast enough, and you start to realize that everyone's afraid, then you're all in the same boat. And so if you can start to own the fact that no one has everything under control and no one's perfect, it takes a little pressure off of trying always to fit in. Because I think that's the problem. When we try to fit in, we always kind of are a square peg trying to fit into a round hole. When we just try to be us, and and so people are like, "Oh, you don't know that?" I'm like, "No, I don't. Sorry. Can you explain it to me?" And you take the pressure off of having to know everything or having to be perfect. It just makes life a lot more fun, a lot less scary, and also the energy vampires, they can't attack you if you don't have, if you're clear with people. It's really hard for people to destabilize you, because that's the end case scenario. Is when we don't treat ourselves with respect, it's because we don't think we're we don't deserve respect. And instead, if I say, listen, God doesn't make mistakes. He can't make mistakes. He's God. If you're here, there's a reason. So find that reason. Why are you on this planet? What are your gifts? What are you meant? Why are you here? Find out why you're here. Hone those gifts. Make those gifts as important as you possibly can, then turn around and give it back to the world. That's where happiness comes from. And it has very little to do with social media, with being beautiful, and with whatever, you know what I mean? It has more to do with being useful. Let's try to make ourselves useful. I think that's the key of true happiness.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Jill. That's so true. And I love it too, because what you've said is very different from the typical happiness talk that a lot of, I've experienced as a young person too, is that excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you. Is that just do what makes you happy. Well, that's very difficult to figure out, but you literally just articulated what it is that will make us happy, which is being useful. I love that so much. And and again, you literally live by what you speak. You practice what you preach, but you're not preaching, but you know what I mean? It's so true that just being useful. And I think it's important too, like from a young age, you clearly took up, responsibility for yourself, and you put yourself out there, and I think that it made yourself useful from a very young age. And I think that it's important, your example is very important for anyone of any age. I think that we can do this regardless of where our age is in life and where we are. We can do that right now, like you said. That's amazing. And for you guys watching, just keep that in mind, because I think that really will change your life, is just being that simple thing of just being useful. And so,
well, can I add something on, Madison?
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
I didn't have it under control when I was 16 and going to New York, and I didn't have it under control when I was 19 and going to Italy, and I probably didn't have it to control until I was about 49 and a half.
Wow.
I'm not a heroine, or a heroine. How do you say it?
Yeah, heroine.
What happened was I was really bullied bad in high school, and I escaped from high school. I mean, part of the reason I went to New York University early admission is I was brutally bullied, and so I just wanted out. And then I wasn't happy in New York, and I wanted out. And when I got to Italy, I finally realized that running wasn't going to answer this question, wasn't going to make me healthy. And that's why when I got to Italy and I started asking the questions around 23, 24, because I just realized I couldn't run anymore. There was nowhere else to run to. I had to face Jill. Right. And the other thing about being useful, and I think this is the key, is if you look really hard inside yourself, you'll notice that your talents very often are very, very close to your desires. Okay, what you're really good at is usually what your hobby is. Just, wow. I mean, maybe someone who's really good with fixing motorcycle machines, and he's probably a really good mechanic. Or there's people that love to cook, and they're always looking at, you know, cooking magazines. I think to be useful, it's not really hard to figure out how to be useful,
right,
because you probably already know what your talents are. And the other thing is, it's to be useful. This is another piece of advice, is if every single morning I try to say, you know, a lot of people are always looking at what is missing in their lives. Okay, I'm not happy. Why am I not happy? Why am I depressed? Why am I unhappy? Why am I sad? And the fact is because you're looking at what's not there, as opposed to looking what is. Like, one of my favorite exercises in the morning is my gratitude list, especially when I'm in the car. First thing I do is I say, you know, Lord, thank you so much. And I start to say thank you for my family, for my work, for my brains, for my body, for my movement, for my happiness, for the music, for my cell phone. And that already gets you on a good plane, okay? Because when you're gracious, gratitude really helps you see what's in your life. And the second thing is, at least one time a day, I hope to make someone I don't know, or someone I do, smile.
Aww.
And that just might be saying thank you at a supermarket, or it might be listening. If you listen to people, or you notice people, or you look at people and you try to empathize with them, you'll notice that a lot of times people they're down, or they're upset, or something's wrong, and you go up to them and go, "Are you okay? You got everything under control," and they'll look at you, and they look at you as if you're oxygen. Like, they'll look at you as if you're a lifesaver, and that really changes your mindset, because when you can, you know, that's the way you can be useful to the world, is by helping other people make it through the day. You know, make it through the day.
Wow, I love that. Even what you said, that was brilliant. Just that. When people are in need of help, and thank you for adding that, Jill, too. Like, wow, I'm just in awe of you. Oh my gosh.
That's because I'm old. You'll get there. You're gonna get there, Madison. You're young, darling. You've got years in front of you to get to the. You'll probably beat me to the mark. I hope you can get to this mindset and to this peace within the next, 48 hours. I'm just joking, but I mean, you're gonna get there. Everyone's gonna get there. It's a process, and it's the nice thing about being 50 is you really do have maturity on your side, and maturity is an amazing teacher. It helps a lot.
I love that, and the wisdom and maturity. What is your favorite part about? Because my mom has actually said this too. She's in her 50s as well, and I've heard this from many wise people I've listened to. They just said maturity and how that's such a beautiful part of growing up, really, and I don't like to use the word aging, but I guess it is in a way, but I don't see it as that.
Yes.
You still have, anyway.
Aging is inevitable. I think I always say aging is an art, because we're all aging. That's a given.
Right.
And I think also, innately, human beings, the reason that there are energy vampires, or there are people that have a tendency to try to destabilize other people, is inherently we're all realize that we're mortal, that we will die sooner or later. Every single one of us will die. And so what happens is, if we were immortal, we'd have time to do everything. We'd have time to study and dance, and maybe be an engineer now and a painter in 200 years, and have children, and So being mortal, what happens is we have this timeline, and we all kind of look at this timeline, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and onward. And it's like we're like this little blue dot, like on a Google map that's moving over that timeline. And when you get to certain like milestones, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, you start to kind of say, okay, where am I in my life? Where are the other people around me in their life? Career-wise, family-wise, children-wise, and whatever. And so I think inherently, because we are mortal, that scares the heck out of a lot of people. And it's also the reason why a lot of people get jealous, because maybe they see that you're farther along as a human being at the same age than they are, and that kind of makes them lash out through jealousy, But it's not because they're against you. They're lashing out because inherently inside themselves, they're afraid of not living enough, you know, or not being enough, or not having enough at that certain age. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, Jill. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I love how you that's really what jealousy is. That's a wonderful way to, the truth about it really is that, and that's so true. And this is actually great. I'd love to learn more about your novel that just came out, because it's kind of similar to, like, you know, owning up to stepping into your own power and stabilizing. I'd love to just hear more about the inspiration behind it and what it's all about and everything.
In Italian, it's called Una vita tutta mia, a life all my own, and it's my first novel. I've written already 6 books, and the 7th is about to come out in a few weeks, and it's about anti-aging. But this is my first novel, and it's the beginning of a trilogy. And it's inspired, obviously, by a lot of my own life, but it is a novel. So, I mean, to be a novel, you need, you know, pathos, as they say in Italian. So it's a story about a woman who gets divorced, has a very, very violent ex-husband, and she's trying to kind of, you know, navigate very, very difficult waters in another country, no help from her own parents, very little help from the people around her. And the question of this book, it's, you know, I say it has a happy ending, but the happy ending it's not the happy ending that you would expect, because it's a love story about her and herself. There's love interests, there's a love story, there's the ex-husband, there's, you know, there's the good, there's the bad. But the question is, she asks herself during this book, what am I willing to accept? What am I willing to accept to be loved? What am I willing to accept? You know, what torture am I willing to accept to be loved? And she answers those questions in the book, because there's different things she goes through. So I really don't want to reveal it. And there's an old flame that comes back after 14 years. She bumps into him at a stoplight, and that story goes. I mean, there's a lot of questions that she asks, and at the end case scenario, it leaves an open. I mean, it ends, but it doesn't end, because in the end case, I have 3 books in mind, so I'm already writing the 2nd book. So hopefully you can help me find a publisher in Canada for A Life All My Own.
Absolutely, yeah. I would love to read it. That sounds amazing. I love how I've never heard of that before. A love story just between herself, like just self-love. How beautiful is that? Wow. Amazing.
But there's also you know, some shades of gray there. Not 50. There's not 50 Shades of Grey, but I mean, there's a love story in it, and so it has your normal kind of construction of a novel. But I did like to construct a novel. I love thrillers, so it's a love story thriller, but it's interesting. So I mean, maybe I can send you over the English version so you can read it and see if you like it or not.
Oh, thanks, Jill. Yeah, I would love to. My whole family, we all love reading books, and yeah, that sounds like such an amazing story. And oh, well, I'm looking forward to it coming to Canada. International too. Also too, you have an awesome daughter, Veronica, and I know that growing up, like mothers and daughters, like I'm very close with my mom too, and you know, you hear things from other moms and other daughters about their relationship and how it can be strained sometimes, or even how, you know, one of us, you know, when I was in my teen years, I went through a lot of mental health struggles, and it was very hard on my mom. And my mom growing up, her mom went through depression, so it was hard on her as a daughter. What are ways that you have found to support each other in your relationship with Veronica, that you would like to share with the audience that contributes to such a beautiful relationship it seems that you guys have, which I just love?
Well, the first thing is, I think children choose their parents. And when Veronica was very young, I used to tell her, I'm like, thank you for choosing me. And she would go, it's okay, Mom. And she'd kind of try, walk off the other way because she was just an adorable, adorable kid. The thing about Veronica is, first of all, she's an only child, and that's a different relationship between a mother and a daughter because it's very, very symbiotic. The other thing is, I hoped to tell Veronica, I wanted Veronica to be her own woman, to be her own girl, to do her own thing. And many, many times, I would, like, for when she was 4, she came home one day, and I used to always tell her, I said, you're such an artist, because I think that children are like plants that can be watered. You never tell a child that it's not possible, because then they'll believe it. So she would draw, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're such an artist, since she was like 2 years old. And she comes home when she's 4 years old, and she goes, Mom, the teacher told me I don't draw well. And I looked at her and I said, how dare she? I said, you tell her that you're an abstract artist, that your mother is an artist, and that she doesn't understand Jack. And she looked at me at 4 years old. She said, okay. She walked back. And so the neat thing is watching someone as amazing as Veronica grow up, because I think not only do I think children choose us as parents, I think it's our honor to accompany them and help them, become adults by the time that they're 18. And when they're 18, you're going to give them the keys and you're an adult, But the amazing thing, and Veronica just had a birthday, and I wrote this on the internet the other day. I said, sometimes some fantastic miracles happen. And it's not only the parent that helps the child grow, but it's the child that helps the parent grow. And I'm very, very fortunate because Veronica, I listen to Veronica. Veronica gives me amazing advice. Veronica is a really smart person. So to all the mothers and the daughters and the sons, I'm not the mother of a son, so I can't really speak on that one. But to listen to each other and to always remember at the basis of all conflict is love. And sometimes it's misguided and sometimes it's misunderstood, but there's always love. And so to not take things personally when you argue, and you do survive adolescence. Adolescence is a moment when the child has to emotionally cut the umbilical cord. They have to emotionally kill the parent. And it's just emotional, obviously. So when, my girlfriends are like, how can you believe it? My daughter said she just hopes that I die. I'm like, oh, come on, that's easy. That's not a problem. If I told you the slew of things that Veronica told me when she was an adolescent, we'd have to go throw some beeps in there. We'd be like beep and beep, beep and beep, beep. But the whole thing is, we do survive adolescence, and people do become adults when they're around 21 years old. And that's a whole different, amazing relationship, because I don't ever want to be Veronica's friend, because I don't think that's my position. I think a mom should be a mom and a child should be a child. But a beautiful friendship, mature interrelation between an adult child and adult parent, I think, is something that is absolutely breathtaking. It's really an amazing voyage. So I think I'm very lucky, and I hope everyone out there is going to be just as lucky with their children, because it's just amazing. I just think children are amazing.
Wow. I love that so much, Jill. And clearly you're an awesome mom. You remind me a lot of my mom, actually, because even the things you said, like children pick their parents. My mom says the exact same thing. So true. And how beautiful is that? I love that so much. Well, we could go on and on talking, but I think that we've gotten I feel like I've only gotten the tip of the iceberg with you, Jill, because you're just awesome. But what are the three things you do every day that contribute to your life, your quality of life? What are those three things that really contribute to that quality of life for you that you would love to share with our viewers?
The three things that absolutely are fundamental to my health and my wellness is, working out and sleep. Those are the two biggies.
Love it.
And then the other two would be working, because I do love to work. I love to work and I love to study. And I have to add another one. I use a lot of supplements. I've been supplementing for years. So I create supplements, I produce supplements, and I use supplements because it's what helps me look the way I do at 50 years old and do what I do at 50 years old. So working out, studying, sleeping and sleeping well is very important, and supplements. So they're 4, they're not 3. Sorry.
No, I love that. It's so true. You like, when you told me you were 50 the first time, I was like, what? You look much younger than 50 to me. So clearly that's all contributes to amazing quality of life. And I just have a few more. I just have to ask you a few more because a few popped into my mind.
Yeah.
So growing up, I feel like a lot of people experience a lot of antagonism within their own family, like you were saying, and you were bullied within your own family, which is just so, I'm sure, is so difficult. And I think that almost everyone has some kind of abusive, and whether it's physical or emotional or whatever, between a family member. And you were talking a lot about how you found that stability within yourself, and what were your, like, what resources did you use? Like, what helped you? Because I know you said you love personal growth, you love learning. Was there anything in particular you took, anything that you read? Was it a person in your life? Was it changing your environment? What was it that helped you step into your own power as you and be able to protect yourself?
What helped me step into my own power? I'm a very, very, very big believer. I'm a huge believer. And in the moments, in the darkest moments when I was really, really, really alone, because I have known solitude, I turned to my faith, and my faith helped me, and God helped me, and that helped me a lot. And there's one other thing I really want a lot of people to listen to. Listen to your gut. Listen to your instinct. If you feel weird or something's awry, or you feel that kind of like that bad taste in your mouth, or your hair on your, something that twitches, you're off, that feeling that something's off, it probably is. And don't make excuses for that person. Don't make excuses for what you're feeling, and find someone you can talk to. That's just the biggest thing I can, like, if you feel uncomfortable, talk to your best friend, talk to a policeman, talk to your aunt, your uncle. I don't know who you need to talk to, but if someone, including your family, okay, it's a little more difficult in your family because there's a lot of mechanisms that go on in family issues, family politics. A lot of people might say, oh, are you crazy? You don't believe it. So if someone tells you you're crazy, walk outside and go find someone that is totally impartial and says what they think about it. Because I think the biggest problem is, for our own health and our own serenity and our own positivity, do not ignore your feelings. Your feelings are telling you something because they're real, okay? And try to get help where you can, and talk to someone who can let you say, yes, you're not crazy. No, that's not right. That maybe someone brushes your arm maybe too long, or there's a lot of different ways people can. I don't want to use the word abuse because that's a little too heavy, but like I'm saying is, to get a hold of your happiness and to get a hold of your serenity and to become 100% of who you are, you have to kind of divide things into black and white, yes and no, right and wrong. And when someone's wrong, defend yourself. And when you're wrong, ask for forgiveness and stop doing what you're doing. That's pretty much my advice.
I love that. And I love how much you talk about forgiveness too. And how has forgiveness changed your life?
Well, forgiveness, I don't think is human. I really think forgiveness, I don't think it's something that's, I really think it's something that we have to really work through. And like I said, my faith really helps me forgive, because he says, don't forgive once, so don't forgive 7 times, forgive 777 times 7. And so I don't think, if someone cuts off like pulls into the street and cuts you off with a car, you're not going to say, oh, I forgive you. You're like, my gosh, beep, 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 why are you doing that, and everything else. So I don't think it's really human to forgive, but I do know that forgiveness is to forgive, to give a gift. It's a gift. It's something that you give to yourself. When I let go of something that has hurt me, a lot of people, when I talk about forgiveness, they say, I can't forgive, because then that's like setting them free. Maybe they hurt you. Maybe they did something terrible to you. And if I forgive them, it's like I'm letting them out of the prison. And it's not true. If you forgive someone, you're helping you let go. You're helping you say it's over. I'm closing the wound. Because if I don't close a wound, I can't make a scar. The scar stays there. If you forgive somebody, you're going to still have this. You can still remember what happened, but it's no longer open. The wound is healed. The wound is closed. And so forgiveness is a process that can take even years, depends on what we're forgiving and who we're forgiving, and how long the period of forgiveness takes. But forgiveness is allowing you to live today without letting your past influence your present. It's over. Let it go. Just go forward and, forgive. Just let it go.
I love that. Well, you're such a wise, beautiful woman, Jill.
Oh, well, thank you, Madison. Please don't make me out to be any bigger than I am. I just love what I do, and I love people. So if I can help, that would be great.
Yes. And well, thank you so much for just the contribution you've made today, and for your time, really. And just, it's been such a pleasure to speak with you and just have the opportunity to listen to what you have to say. And you're amazing and
well, Madison,
incredible.
I thank you so much for the compliments, and I'm the interviewee, you're the interviewer, but I also know of the amazing work that you're doing in Canada, and the fact that you are an amazing person, and also the fact that with so much humility and so much curiosity that you've befriended this interview. So I really, really thank you. Oh, sorry, I hit my microphone, but I really, really thank you for having taken your time to interview me and to allow me to be listened to by people, on the other side of the world, that I hope can glean some pearls of wisdom from what we said, and just feel happier and healthier and more positive because they listen to us. So thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Jill. It's been a pleasure. And you guys watching, check out Jill. She's going to be coming to Toronto and the United States and the UK and everywhere very soon, because we need her here as well. And she's got a huge fan base in Italy, but we're looking to take her into the rest of the world because she is awesome.
Well, thank you.
No, my pleasure. So you guys watching, comment below, follow Jill at Jill. Is it JillCooper Super Jump?
It's JillCooper.it or now.JillCooper.it is my gym.
Okay, her gym. Check that out, guys. It's exercise. We all know how important that is for our mental health. Thank you, Jill. We will see you guys very soon on the next Mind Time with Madison. Bye.